brazen attack, an off-duty Border Patrol officer shot in New York. The suspect, an illegal migrant with a mile-long rap sheet, plus a much-needed glimmer of hope out of Texas as the number of missing from those fatal floods drops, with many found safe and sound. And I'll catch you up on the spectacular drama with the Jumbotron CEO and HR mistress. Well, I guess we can't really call them that anymore since it appears they're both now out of a job. Those stories and more today, Monday, July 21st. I'm Caitlin Becker, and this is the New York Postcast. The chummy relationship between the Trump administration and Israel might not be all that it seems. Behind closed doors at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the mood is soured on the Israeli prime minister, with one White House official calling Benjamin Netanyahu a, quote, madman. Now, in a report from Axios, an administration insider vented that Netanyahu's actions, like bombing Syria and shelling a church in Gaza, could, quote, undermine what Trump is trying to do, and that is to end foreign wars. In Syria, Israel claimed it was trying to stop the violence between the Syrian government and Druze militias. U.S. Special Envoy Tom Barrack urged Israel to stand down, and they did briefly before continuing the bombardment. Things did finally seem to settle down after Secretary of State Marco Rubio made a second similar plea. Then days later, Israel attacked the only Catholic church in Gaza, killing 3 and injuring 10. President Trump called Netanyahu after that attack, demanding an explanation, and then Israel put out a statement expressing remorse. Pope Leo even weighed in on Sunday, calling for, quote, an immediate end to the barbarity of war. And now a glimmer of good news out of Texas following the horrific fatal flooding earlier this month. The number of missing people in the hardest hit region has been drastically reduced, as many of those who are on the list have been thankfully found alive and safe. In Kerr County, there were 97 people still missing as of only a few days ago. By Sunday night, however, that number dropped to just 3. Now, sadly, a handful of those 94 people who were found hadn't survived, but by and large, it was a lot better than authorities could have expected. As one official said in a statement, quote, through extensive follow-up work among state and local agencies, many individuals who were initially reported as missing have been verified as safe and removed from this list. And now, are you ready for some football? The first NFL Sunday of the season is still about 7 weeks away, but President Trump is ready to sack one team in particular. The commander-in-chief doesn't care for his namesake, the Commanders, and on Sunday, commanded that the team go back to their controversial Washington Redskins name and logo. Now, as he is apt to do, the president made his proclamation on social media, posting, quote, the Washington whatevers should immediately change their name back to the Washington Redskins football team. There is a big clamoring for this. Now, they stopped using the name Redskins back in 2020, were in a brief no man's land as the Washington football team, and then rebranded as the Commanders, or if you're the president, the Washington whatevers. Now, Trump went on to demand the same from the Cleveland Guardians baseball team, who changed their name from the Indians back in 2022. The president argued that times are different now than they were 3 or 4 years ago and implored team owners to, quote, get it done. He even seemed to issue a kind of ultimatum, suggesting he might throw up roadblocks for Washington's new DC stadium plans if they don't do what he says and change the name back. Now, this latest push follows administration support for New York State schools with Native American mascots. The Empire State had moved to ban them starting with the new school year this fall, but the White House had voiced opposition to the law, which they argue takes away Native American heritage and prestige. Our big story, the state of President Trump's immigration crackdown. Where does it stand, and how are Americans responding to it? The latest polling shows that approval for his handling of the situation has slipped significantly since March, though it remains his most popular policy by far. Now, despite the turning tide nationally, the president's base remains steadfastly supportive. And for their part, the administration is touting its success, highlighting that there were just 9,300 encounters between federal agents and migrants at the Mexican border last month. That's down from a peak of over 300,000 in December of 2023. But high-profile crimes committed by illegal migrants had not disappeared. Over the weekend, a 21-year-old Dominican national who had crossed to the U.S. illegally in April of 2023 attempted to rob and then shot an off-duty Border Patrol agent in New York City. Now, the agent returned fire, hitting his assailant, who was eventually arrested when he walked into a Bronx hospital for treatment. The agent was struck in the face and arm, but is expected to recover. President Trump weighed in with a scathing post, writing, quote, an incredible CBP officer was shot in the face by an illegal alien monster freed into the country under Joe Biden. So for more on all of this, I'm now joined by the Post Deputy Managing Editor, Michael Zenny. So Michael, I want to start first with this violent incident in New York City. What do we know about the shooter?
Yeah, so the Department of Homeland Security has named him as Miguel Mora Nunez, and he is a Dominican national. They've said that he crossed illegally into the U.S. at the southern border in 2023. That would be during the Biden administration, and that a judge actually had issued a deportation order. And then, despite that deportation order, according to our own reporting, he was actually arrested 4 times in New York and released each of those 4 times. And he was also, at the time of his arrest, wanted for a robbery out of Massachusetts. The other crazy thing here, and we only just learned this, is that he was actually suspected in a robbery that happened not 5 minutes before the shootout, and the cops were actually on scene. He and his pal allegedly snatched a phone from a little old lady in this same park.
Wow. That is quite a rap sheet there. I'm sure we'll continue to be, you'll keep us updated on how that unfolds. But I do want to turn to President Trump's immigration crackdown. Border crossings are down by a pretty significant number. So how does that impact the administration's focus and what will come next?
Yeah, so really, since the beginning of his administration, the border crossings dropped precipitously, and they've really been focused on this deportation effort. And I think one of the things that he's been really focusing on is turning up the heat on so-called sanctuary jurisdictions, including New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, right? And, these are places that have laws that limit the cooperation between local cops and ICE and other federal agents doing deportation raids. And you saw Trump weigh in on this particular case here in New York within a matter of hours with fury, blaming Democrats for allowing criminals into the country, he says. And so, yeah, as you said, the border crossings are at historic lows. I mean, they're charting numbers that you saw in entire months now that the Biden administration were clocking in days. So really, we're looking at just they are trying to ramp up enforcement as quickly as they can.
So what about this politically? I mean, the Trump base is really sticking by him on this, but the broader electorate does seem to be concerned about how aggressive the administration is being with rounding people up. And based on what you said there, it seems like they're going to double down on that. So is there a point at where the president would potentially feel like he needs to soften his stance on this?
Well, we saw this debate within the administration earlier this month, right? Notably between the agriculture secretary and Stephen Miller, who is one of the architects of Trump's immigration policy, right? And all of our reporting suggested so far Miller won that fight. So if you remember, the president came out and suggested that farm workers and others, could be part of some sort of like amnesty or maybe not be targeted, but then he reversed course on that just a few days later. And then last week, border czar Tom Homan said that after the big, beautiful bill passed, he now wants to more than double the arrest quota for ICE, up to 7,000 arrests per day with the vast new money that they're getting. And we did the math. If they reach that quota every day for the rest of the year, that is about 1 million arrests for the rest of this year.
And the money there would be key because our own reporting had said that at the 3,000 number, it was really stretching the agents really thin. So they would need that in order to hit that really massive, massive target. Michael Zenny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now from our friends over at Page Six. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Global pop star almost falls out of a flying prop as it stops working in the middle of a concert filled with tens of thousands of fans. I am getting deja vu, but no, I'm not talking about Beyonce's flying car that malfunctioned during her Houston concert earlier this month. This time it was Katy Perry and a flying butterfly in San Francisco last Friday night. The audience was hearing Katy roar from high above the Chase Center Arena when suddenly the prop, which was suspended by wires, just dropped several feet. A whole different kind of roar went through the crowd in that moment. Katy looked terrified, but she took just a moment to regain her composure and just kept on going. No one was hurt, and the concert continued. But this isn't the only mishap that Perry has endured recently. Back in June, during a concert in Australia, she almost fell out of a different prop suspended above the crowd. Are we seeing a pattern here? Maybe we don't need to sail over entire arenas. And finally today, the latest on the story you have been waiting this whole episode for. The Coldplay Jumbotron affair escapade. So much has happened since the kiss cam moment heard round the world. Andy Byron, the CEO of Astronomer, who was caught canoodling as head of HR, stepped down over the weekend. An ex-employee told the Post that Byron was a, quote, toxic boss, and that the office text chain is positively tickled with him getting his comeuppance. I believe the phrase used was laughing their asses off. Kristen Cabot, his HR chief / illicit paramour, was put on ice by the company and placed on leave. As of Sunday night, we don't know if she's just in the penalty box or if she's gotten the permanent axe. Cabot is reportedly married to some old money Bostonian heir to a rum fortune, and Andy Byron's wife, yeah, he's married too, dropped the Byron name from her Facebook profile and then just deleted the whole thing. Meanwhile, Coldplay had their first show since the incident, and when the time came for the Kiss Cam segment, Chris Martin, of course, took the opportunity for a wisecrack, warning everyone in the stadium that they were going to use their cameras to put people on the big screen, and then added knowingly, please, if you haven't done your makeup, do your makeup now. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. People couldn't get enough of this story over the weekend, myself included. The memes were elite. We were, of course, going to stay all over it. So for the next twists and turns, make sure you head to the New York Post in print or online and meet me right here tomorrow. Like and subscribe to the New York Postcast wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube so you don't miss it. I love starting our day together. I'll see you tomorrow.